All right, the Juan Soto thing.
Yeah.
We might as well get this thing out of the way right now. So he has 2.5 years left on his contract.
That's
It's
right.
one of the reasons why Washington has tried over the last 2 years to give him these huge contracts, and the latest one being 15 years, $440 million.
Yeah, was it 15 or 14? Either way.
I think it was 15 or 4. I think it was 15. But anyway, but the point being is that it is an enormous contract. Everybody's like, I can't believe he's turning down almost $500 million, and it is kind of really like, wow. I mean, it just blows you away.
Well, the average annual value, though, because the years are so long.
Well, they're trying to buy out 2 years of arbitration.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, it's not all that impressive. There's a bunch of guys in Major League Baseball that are getting more per year than what this offer was for Juan Soto. But, of course, $440 million guaranteed is what everybody sees. But Juan Soto clearly doesn't want to play there. And you hear 2.5 more years of control, but this team is in a full rebuild.
Yep.
And you could get more with those years of control from a potential team that is paying or trading for him because you're getting those years back from him. So this thing after this deal was declined really might accelerate into the trade deadline.
Well, the point is anybody, can they put a package together quick enough to, make the Nationals do this trade now, or do they wait until the off season when everybody can relax, everybody can sit down, everybody can look at the potential compensation going towards him? It's not going to be an easy trade. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't think, an easy trade, it's unlikely that it happens before the trade deadline. I think this is going to happen in the offseason. That's what I think. And maybe not until next trade deadline, maybe. Who knows? But like I said, he still has, the rest of this year and then 2 more years. And so the Nationals did this last year with him, and now they're trying to do it this year with him. And now I think now the Nationals realize that it's not going to come to pass. It's just not going to happen. He doesn't want to be there. And listening to Max Scherzer talking about his former teammate, makes you say, man, go get the guy if you can. And, the Mets have plenty of prospects. The Mets picked up 2 more guys in the first round last night.
And they can pay him.
He's
one of the few franchises that can pay him.
Well, yeah, so that's going to be the big thing. Like, I guess the Rangers and the Angels were always out there in that regard. I would think that the Giants are going to be in this mix. The Dodgers are going to be in the mix. The Cubs will be in the mix. And I don't know. Are the Yankees in the mix?
Well, is Aaron Judge going to be here or not? I mean, so really that's the question. So there's 2 guys that the future with their respective teams really play into this Juan Soto situation. Now, I do believe that Steve Cohen will blow through luxury taxes and not care all that much. But there are thresholds, and sometimes when you get to those highest thresholds, it does become prohibitive even for a guy like Steve Cohen. And then in that instance, you're like basically funding these other teams with the revenue sharing and the luxury tax. But, Jacob Degrom, does he come back? Does he look like the Cy Young Award winner that we've seen in the past? He opts out, and then he's going to be looking for a gigantic extension. Aaron Judge with the Yankees, is he going to get paid by the Yankees? So those 2 situations really play into whether or not the Mets and Yankees are going to go forward and bring in a guy like Soto that is going to get close to $500 million.
And you can see that the Washington Nationals also have other problems. They'd love to get rid of Patrick Corbin's numbers.
Yeah.
Steven Strasburg hasn't pitched for them, and it seems like forever. And, and they're still paying Max Scherzer.
They lose all these guys. I mean, they offer them big contracts, but not big enough. And I don't know if it's just because of the money or it's just a place that guys don't want to play, but Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Anthony Rendon, Juan Soto. It's happening again to them.
Well, it just goes to show you how good a team they had, and how many good
they won a World
players
Series.
Yeah, and how many good players they had. So inevitably, it happens to all these teams. It seems like there's like this 5-year run where they're in the mix, they're in the mix, they're in the mix, they're in the mix. They finally win the championship, and then they start discarding players. All these players could be still on the Washington Nationals if you still wanted them there.
Yeah.
But it comes to a point where, like, the Yankees are at that point. All right, who are we paying, and how much are we paying them, and how long are we going to keep them here?
Yeah, I mean, it also begs the question, who would you rather have for the next 10 years? Would you rather have the, 23-year-old Juan Soto or the 31-year-old next year Aaron Judge.
There's no question you'd want to have the 22 or 23-year-old Juan Soto. There's no question.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no question.
So, maybe.
But the point being.
How awkward would that be if the Yankees traded for Soto, which basically meant that they weren't going to re-sign Aaron Judge at the end of the year?
But it's a game that everybody has to play.
Yeah.
So, Aaron Judge is playing the game. He's having a great year. He bet on himself. I still think that they want Aaron Judge. They want to keep Aaron Judge in the Yankee uniform. They may sniff around Juan Soto to keep their fans happy. Mm-hmm. I just don't see them keeping both of those players.
Yeah, and when you trade for him, even though he's got 2.5 more years of control, Scott Boras is his agent, I believe. I'm almost positive of that. He's going to want that new deal right away. They're not going to sit there and take those 2 more years on the rookie deal or whatever it is and go to arbitration, even though that number is okay. They're going to want that contract right away.
Right, and I don't know if a new team is going to offer him a 15-year contract, but I could see a 10-year contract.
Yeah, but with more money per
yes,
year.
Of course. Yeah, you could see 10 years, $400 million.
Yeah,
that's what you could see.
Which would be $11 million more per year than what he was offered by the Nationals.
Right, so somewhere around there. I know these are crazy numbers. It's other people's money. I don't really care, but I think that's probably what Boras is looking for, some major upgrade in terms of average per year. That's the thing that the Yankees are nuancing with Aaron Judge. Well, this is the highest paid per year everyday player we've ever had. There's all these different angles to it, and they can feel good about their offer when in essence for Aaron Judge right now this is going to be his one shot at this whole thing. He's not young enough to have another shot. So if Juan Soto signs a 10-year deal with wherever he goes,
he'll have another shot.
He'll have another shot.
Right, but then do you want to put yourself in that situation, or do you want to get as many years as possible because now's the time to cash in?
I think you got to be you got to be realistic about what you're paying and how long you're paying somebody. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that to me, I would be reticent to give anybody a 10-year deal, all guaranteed money.
Well, yeah.
Look at what's going on with Mike Trout. Even the best player in baseball has missed how many games?
Yeah, at the last couple of years has been crazy.
Right, exactly. So this can happen to all these players. I would think that he is definitely going to be.
It's going to be 24 in October. So, even if you gave him a 10-year deal this year, it'd be 34 by the end of it, not 38, 39, 40, 41 like we've seen some of those deals.
I'm going to give it a 75-25 that he's a Met.
Really?
Yes.
That confident?
I am, because I think the Mets have the assets and they have the owner. The assets and the owner, man.
Yeah,
when
that here makes a ton of sense.
And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, of course. Now you think this would be more of an off-season situation than a trade deadline situation?
Yeah, they have a couple guys that are trade deadline, when you say trade deadline eligible, guys that are in the last year, like a Josh Bell, who's in the last year of his contract. And I don't think the Nationals would have a problem, helping the Mets in that regard. But, seeing Juan Soto in a Met uniform, it's going to take whatever it would take to get Kevin Durant out of the Nets.
Yeah, even more so if you think about it, because we're talking about a 23-year-old superstar. It's a totally different situation. You don't see a lot of this.
See, I'm all in on this one. This like Donovan Mitchell at 25.
Yeah, this is exactly what this is. Now, you've seen a couple guys hit free agency like Harper and Machado at 25, and that would be the same for Soto. But, those guys weren't really available in trades prior to those free agency years where they were free to sign with anybody, and now amazing. Soto is.
It's not like he's a 300 hitter.
Well, not this year. He's not, but he's really turned. It's not all about the batting average.
And by the way, he's probably the lone guy in that lineup.
Well, he's on a horrendous team.
I kind of feel like watching the Cubs and the Mets the last 3 games. Mm-hmm. It was like did somebody freaking get a hit somewhere along the line.
No, I know. Well, the Mets are.
I forgot how. I didn't realize how inept the Cubs were.
They're terrible, absolutely terrible.
And I guess they kept talking about the wind blowing in at Wrigley Field and everything.
Yeah, but
you got to be kidding me.
The Mets need another bat desperately.
Oh, absolutely, they need one.
It's maybe the Nationals, because I always feel like you get more at the trade deadline because they're teams that are like, we gotta go for it right now. Now is the moment. Maybe the Nationals capitalize on that and essentially fleece a team. But I don't think you can fleece a team when Juan Soto is what you're getting back, but, get more at the trade deadline. I mean, maybe you never know. It's a new world with Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen could be hearing all this stuff and seeing all this stuff and being like, this doesn't happen in baseball. This doesn't happen in sports where a guy like this becomes available right now. Go and get him. Do it. And I'll do whatever I need to do on my end. Just figure it out, baseball people, and I'll pay him. If I need to, right away, in this next offseason, I'll certainly do it.
Well, could you imagine if you had him out in the Mets outfield?
I mean, it would be insanity.
It would be great.
And you'd have him, Alonso, hopefully Lindor is better than what we've seen, but you've got those three guys as a core of your team in that lineup.
And then you got Scherzer for another 2 years after this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then
we'll see what happens with Degrom.
Right. And then what happens with Degrom? That is a huge question that hopefully will be answered here by the time the Padres come to town.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he is right there. There's really I'm still sticking to I need to see 5 starts from him with him not coming out of a game to start feel confident about him being able to finish the season and go into the postseason, because it's just been so up and down. It hasn't just been this year. It was all last year.
And that is going to be a huge decision by him and by the Mets. If he comes back and is dominant as we hope that he is, then he opts out.
It's going to be crazy.
Then what?
Well, he's going to get a lot of money. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
So that would mean you would have the highest per average paid player in Scherzer at $43 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lindor at $34 million a year, I think it is, right? 33, somewhere around there. Then you're going to have Jacob Degrom, who's going to want to have probably 5 years, $250 million or something, some crazy number.
And then you're trading for Soto,
and you're trading for Soto. I mean, it becomes the Dodgers.
Well, it does. I mean, even more so, I think, because think about it. I mean, right now the Mets, I believe, have the highest payroll in baseball. Now you add an opted-out Jacob Degrom with a new contract and potentially Juan Soto. If they signed both those guys, I mean, that would be stratosphere stuff that even the Dodgers haven't reached. I mean, you'd feel like you'd have an all-star team.
Well, the Dodgers right now.
Oh, they have more payroll?
Yeah, they're at 260, 261, and the Mets are at 259.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's actually the fact that we're even talking about the Mets
in this way,
it's such a short period of time is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
and by the way, it's reflective of what's going on the field as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't forget what they're paying Buck Showalter.
Yeah, and of course he's been a huge influence on this group. I mean, I knew that this was a good first half, but to know it was the best record only to the 86 Mets at the All-Star break for a Mets team. I mean, they've had some good teams in the past, but this team is the second best in their history. Was like that was impressive.
So, according to Spot Track, the Mets are paying $259 million for their salary for their team, and the New York Yankees are paying $250 million.
Okay, so they're right there with the third highest.
And then you get the Phillies, the Padres, and the Red Sox and the White Sox. The Padres are a really interesting team because they are a really good team, but for some reason they can't seem to get it.
Well, they're also in a division. I mean, last year the Giants had that crazy regular season, and the Dodgers were really good, of course.
But you remember we were always talking about their payroll.
Yeah.
All right. Machado is at 32. Eric Hosmer is at 21. Darvish at 19. Blake Snell at 13. And of course, they got guys on the injured list. Will Myers at 22.
Well, they gave Tatis the money too.
Yeah, they gave Tatis a big deal. I've got to find him.
He's right there. I see him.
He is right there. But, his contract doesn't kick in just yet.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's a team that they expect wins now. They definitely do. They've invested in them. They're in a very difficult division. They're trying to keep up. They've done a decent job. Remember that deal before the season where they were trying to unload Hosmer on the Mets and Paddock and that whole deal?
Right.
It seems like a good thing that they didn't do
right.
that.
Well, by the way, Fernando Tatis signed a 14-year, $340 million contract.
Yeah, so he took that money that Juan Soto is saying no thank you to.
He did.
But you're also playing in San Diego a little bit different than playing down in D.C. at that horrendous ballpark.
But you think about this. He's making 5.7 this year, $7 million next year, $11 million, and then it kicks into $20 million, and at the end of it, it's like $36 million. That's a bargain.
Yeah.
Considering what Juan Soto is going to want and what most likely Jacob Degrom is going to want.
And there's only a few teams out there that can pull it off. There really is. Only a handful of teams that can pay a guy like Juan Soto that type of money, and the Mets are now back to be one of those teams.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.